Hello, everyone. This is Sean Lesser with the Real Mental Health Break. Thank you so much for being with us. Every week on this show, we talk about mental health from all different angles. Sometimes we talk to athletes, sometimes we talk to people in finance, different in the media, across really the spectrum of different occupations. Today, I'm excited because I have an old friend on the show, Cole Hunter. So me and Cole know each other intimately because I was in a treatment center and he was working there, and I think I was a big part. He was responsible for me, and we went through quite a journey together. For those that are just new to the show, just 10-second background on me, right? Originally from Brooklyn, grew up in Long Island. Business wise, on the resume, I like to say I did 15 years. I did international institutional equity sales. And then in 2007, with a partner of mine, we started the first impact investing investment bank. And about a year ago, just around this time, almost to the date, I had some mental health issues where I went to the psych ward and I went to two treatment centers, and Cole was at one of them. So, Cole, why don't you say hi and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Cole. I got to work at this facility, the Nedley Depression Anxiety Program, through actually going through depression myself. So I had a life full of traumas, childhood traumas, led with some bad decisions, some bad relationships, and it got me into a dark place. And through that, I went through the program, got a lot of help, got better, and ended up working here ever since. And I kind of just have worked my way up through the ladder. Like Sean said, I used to work in more of like the public relations, where I would be one on one with the participants, and so now I work in more of the management side of things. And so yeah, that's uh that's where I'm at. That's what I do.
And then you're in Weimar, California. That's
Yes,
where the
yes.
center is.
It's about 45 minutes away from Sacramento.
So me and Cole, we spent around 30 days together, intimately together.
Yeah.
He was really the guy that at the treatment center, for example, they'd wake you up at 5:30 in the morning,
Mm.
knocking on a door, and I would see Cole's handsome face every morning. Sean, please get up. And going through my activities during the day. Um, but Cole, can you talk a little bit about when we first met, or you first saw me checking into the treatment center? Some of your thoughts when uh, you saw me, or how I was reacting.
Yeah, yeah. So when Sean first arrived, Sean was a hot mess. He came in and he was shaking and sweating like uncontrollably. Us as staff, we thought he was on drugs for sure. We thought he was withdrawing off something or getting off something. And I mean, what you see him today is nothing as is what I originally saw Sean as.
Right, right. And then what were they? They were thinking that maybe he's alcoholic or something along that
Yeah,
lines, or
yeah, for sure. We thought withdrawing off of either benzos, alcohol, Adderall, so, something, a mix of drugs. Just how
Mhm.
much he was sweating, how much he was shaking, it was very uncontrollably.
So
But
I know you have. Oh, keep on going, go.
yeah, no, just I mean, obviously, then through getting to know Sean and hearing his story and getting into the depth, you could understand why he was in the state he was in at the time.
So you've worked with maybe 1,000 folks at the treatment center,
Hmm.
and they're on all different levels. Uh, Not saying you have to rank me, but where was I kind of uh, i- in that spectrum of folks?
Yeah, so I would rank Sean as probably one of the worst. As far as he seemed as if he was the like most hopeless, and it wasn't that way at first, right? Obviously, we we come in and, we want to have the best face forward of trying to help these people. But as far as when time was going on, it was, it seemed like it was getting more hopeless. Sean almost got worse before he got better. So I would say, yeah, definitely, if not one, number two for the
All right.
worst. Yeah.
I'll take that as a good badge of a high score. So thanks, Colby.
Yes.
But
Yes.
and then let's talk about. I mean, when I got there, I was not feeling good. Yes, I was shaking uncontrollably. I was sweating. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was trying to isolate. That's not really possible at the treatment center at all. So maybe you can talk about a little bit, and every day they would slip your schedule under the door.
Mm.
Maybe you can
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the schedule, Cole, and what you had us
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, so usually, or not usually, we always wake guests up at 5:30. And so the way Sean described it is a little different. I think of it as like, like we're breaking in, or, the police are knocking on the door. I try to, give that emphasis to it. But after the wake up, we usually do a group exercise. From there, we'll have breakfast, we'll have some morning inspiration, we'll either do a lecture or some hydrotherapy. Then there'll be some appointments throughout the day. Lunch is usually at 1. Then some more lectures and some more hydrotherapy and appointments. Dinner's at 6. And this is when guests get their phones and are able to use it for an hour. And then evening inspiration is at 8. And then bedtime's at 9. So there's something going on every single hour. And so, like Sean said, we were with each other pretty much 24/7 for 30 days.
Yeah, and I think that was important when you're in that state of mind that you keep busy, right? So it was literally you get the piece of paper, I think it was in 30-minute increments. You knew
Mhm.
what you're doing. And yeah, we'd get our phones. I think it was you'd wait around, get your phones at I think 7 o'clock. From 7 to 8, you're allowed to have your phones and talk to your family. And I think maybe talk about the Nedley Center is different than other centers. I think that the Nedley Center has a full kind of mind, body, spirit
Yes.
aspect. So maybe you can
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's we focus on the mind, the body, and the soul. Where some centers focus on medications, or the medical side, or some work on the mental side, or just the the spiritual side. We try to encompass all three of them together. To my knowledge, we're the only facility that does that. I'm not saying we're the best facility. We're just the only one that encompasses those three. So yeah.
And I would also say the Nedley Center is more about, I mean, you're going to use drugs, but then it's also a lot of holistic medicines.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's, we do initial blood work when the guests first arrive. From there, then we're able to get that back and see any deficiencies or any influxes of the different levels in the body. And then we're able to recommend some supplementations to take to help balance those out. But also, we do that through, lifestyle. So we'll do it through hydrotherapy, we'll do it through, exercise, diet. Um, yeah. What did you think, Sean, when you first arrived? When you got
Well,
this change of schedule, how was that for you?
when I first arrived there, first I took the plane to California from Atlanta, and I'm business guy. I like a million miler on Delta Airlines, and I couldn't take the plane by myself. My wife had to come with me. And I remember being on the plane, have my head against the window the whole time and not talking. And then they picked you up. There were some other folks in the car. They were very nice. I had a nice conversation, and then at least I tried to. And then got to the center and just like, where am I? What's going on? This is strange. And they're okay, now you're in the center with, I think there were 30 people ish. So with
Yeah.
all these strangers to start, right?
Mhm.
And I was uncomfortable. I don't I don't want to be here. All right. And I think over time, it also, this the therapy, but also a big aspect was, and what we do with the Real is the community, because they were all different types of people, but they kind of came together, and the staff was super, super nice, and the other people that were in the treatment center were nice. I think it took me a week to actually talk to anybody because I just wasn't
Yeah.
functioning correctly. And then we were taught. Then my favorite part, of course, I'm actually joking, was a part that we'd have to do twice a day, where we do this thing called hydro therapy. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit, about the hydrotherapy call.
Yeah. So, like Sean said, we do hydrotherapy twice a day. Some people love it, some people hate it. Sean definitely hated it. So, what hydrotherapy is, it's hot water and cold water treatments. And so, there's many forms of different hydrotherapy. The form that we use is we'll get in the hot for 5 minutes, then we'll get them in the cold for a minute, then we'll get them back in the hot for 3 minutes, back in the cold for a minute, back in the hot for another three, and then we'll finish on 1 minute in the cold. And we do that twice a day. So, and the benefits of that, you're gonna feel, better mood, right? So it's gonna help with the mental. It's gonna help with, what we focus on is the depression and anxiety. But it will help with your overall mood. It's gonna help with your sleep, and then any inflammation you have in the body.
Yeah, I have to tell you personally that there's nothing I hated more than doing that.
Yeah, I remember chasing you. I would have to go to your room and hunt you
Yes,
down to try to get you there,
yes,
and you would refuse, kick, scream, do whatever it took to like not go to hydrotherapy.
yes. And I think I was voted the most horrible face made going into that cold
Yes,
water.
yes.
And just, yeah, twice a day. That was a lot. I can just see it in my mind now, and I
Having
see you as,
flashbacks.
yes, and I see you as my taskmaster. Then time, you go in the hot water, time's up, go in the cold water. And I think a lot of people, after a while, they liked it, but I
Yeah,
never really liked it. It was just,
yeah.
uh, it was painful. But I mean, when you get into the
Hmm.
cold water, you a little bit, you lose yourself because you're so frozen that
Yes.
you're. Uh, yeah, maybe you could talk about what exactly happens.
Yeah. So, um, as far as when you get in to the hot, right, you're opening up the blood vessels, right, and then when you get into the cold, you're constricting them. So you're having that contrast, and you're helping with the blood flow in the body. And so that's gonna help with the inflammation in the body, but as well as it's gonna help with the blood flow to the brain. But with Sean, for instance, right, he was already shaking a bunch. And so when you got him into the cold, when you're already in that state of mind where you're anxious, the cold is initially going to shock you. And so for some people, it makes them in the present. For Sean, it really didn't help get him into the present more. It just, you know, he was just focused on getting out. So, but the benefits of that is, it's doing something you don't like every single day, right? And so that's what you aim towards, something that's beneficial. Let me put that statement on that, because it is important to do something that is actually beneficial for you, but it is something that maybe you don't like, right? Maybe that's
Hmm.
exercise, or maybe that's eating a healthy meal, or maybe that's doing hydrotherapy. And so
Hmm.
for Sean, that was his task every day, was to do it at least once. I think there might have been a day or two that he skipped out, but for the most part, he was a good sport about it.
Yeah, I tried to hide sometimes. And then,
Yeah,
being in a Nedley center, and I was at some other centers too, I just,
yeah,
compared to the other ones, I just think people like you were kind of like the guardian angels. And I was there, but it was feeling like you guys really cared, right? There was a ton of
yes,
empathy, or helping people out. So that was a really kind of a special feeling. I would say even Dr. Nedley, he's a good guy. I'd have to see him twice a week. They
yep,
thought I had Parkinson's, or possibly
hmm,
had Parkinson's, because I was I was shaking so much. I
Yeah.
also say that we're going beyond because you also would talk to my wife quite a bit. So I'm curious what those, I wasn't privy to some of those
Right.
conversations.
Yeah.
I'm curious, you can say, if you could share some of the things that you talked about with her.
Yeah. So, like I said before, Sean almost got worse before he got better, and so some of
Mhm.
those conversations, were, trying to get her to realize that there is a process to, this, right? That he is getting worse, but he will get better. Because, I mean, Sean thought he was going home to die, right? And his wife thought the same thing. There's no way he can go home. There's no way he can function like this and keep living. And so it was just those conversations of reassuring her that, we've done this before, we've taken care of people. This is an extreme case, but it's not impossible to see the growth. And I mean, Sean stuck with it. He wasn't just there for 10 days, which is our program length. He stayed for an extra week, and I think even extended on from that. But
Yes.
it was amazing. Even through the second week, he got a little worse, but there was that turning point where Sean was seeing more of that hope. Right, he went from not wanting to do anything, refusing to do a lot, running away, to actually like being able to have like a full blown conversations. And so he would go in and out of that where he was so focused and so anxious about the past. And then we would call it his present, right? And so he'd be able to come to present and have a conversation and calm down and stop shaking. And those were the beautiful times. And that's what I would reassure his wife about, that there were those times where Sean was not, because he'd get on the phone with her and be like, I'm dying here. They're killing me. They're forcing me to get in this cold water, like save me. And, he was crying wolf, for the most part. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, I got to know his wife pretty well. And, if it wasn't for her, she did most of the work. She talked him into staying and kept him going. So she was a wonderful lady.
No, no, thanks. And I just told her that we were having the conversation, and she really appreciates you, and she loves you. So Cole was instrumental. And I would say, yeah, kind of like when I was there, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, I was in my head. I was like, what am I doing here? I'm never gonna get better. I'm not gonna have any life. I'm disabled, and was like, I don't want to be here, but I don't want to go home, right? And it was
Yeah.
just this weird, I guess, dichotomy or whatever, that it was just my whole body was
Hmm.
just stiff. And at the center, again, I'm going back to the daily routine,
Hmm.
literally call knocking on the door at 5:30 every day. I was like, I'm not getting up. But every day
Yeah.
I got up, but every time I was like, nah, I'm not getting up. And then I
Hmm.
would disappear for a while, but then
Yep.
you would track me down.
Yeah.
and,
And
and,
we would go
and
on walks and you would,
yeah,
shuffle around.
yes,
It was you were very tense, right? You were shuffling
yes,
around. And
yes,
even the massage therapist was like one of the most tense people I've ever given a massage to. It's like you couldn't get the guy to relax.
no, it's true. Yeah, I remember those massages, and you should enjoy a massage. But I was just like, no, I'm not enjoying. So it was hard for me
Yeah.
to enjoy anything. And yeah, it was a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? I do a lot of that like all day long. I remember sitting in the
Mhm.
lectures, my head down, and you're in a lecture hall with 30 other people. I sat in the
Yep.
first row. I don't know why. I just sat in the first row. And I had my head down, and I was shaking uncontrollably, and sweat was just dropping down my head,
Mhm.
and it wasn't a pleasant feeling. Um,
No.
but I was there, and sat through them as best I could. So it was an interesting experience,
Oh
to
yeah.
say the least.
No, every time I seen you during those first, I think it was 15 days, it looked like you were, just did P90X or, just did some, CrossFit or something. It was,
Sure.
didn't matter if I woke you up or, it was, you were about to go to bed or throughout the day, it was just full blown sweat. And I think you lost around 20 pounds or something like that in a length of time.
Yeah.
Something,
Yeah.
you lost a lot of weight. So
Yeah.
yeah, it
No,
was,
I lost a
you
lot.
could see it physically. Yeah.
And I have to say, Cole wasn't the nicest guy because I'd be in the ice bath and it was actually snowing those times. So he would go out into the snow, bring a big pile of snow just to help me make it a little bit colder
Just,
because it wasn't cold enough. He had to bring in the snow. That's how much he cared about me, that he needed to
yeah.
bring extra snow. And then I
Yeah.
also remember sometimes when we kind of went off campus, and that was also challenging. I remember
Mhm.
we went bowling at the bowling alley, and
Yep.
this was probably the second week. I don't know, but
Yeah.
maybe
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember that
Oh, I
circumstance.
do. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we got there. It was at the time it was just me, Sean, and one other gentleman, and it was just the three of us for an extended period of time. And so we decided to get off campus. We wanted to have some fun, right? And bowling is something that we could have all done. So we went, and Sean was a good sport. At first, I think he bowled maybe three
Something like that.
times or something like that. And then it was like halfway through, it was like Sean was nowhere to be found. He just like snuck off. He would always sneak off, and
Mm.
I found him. He's just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't be here. Like, what are we doing here? Like, like you think, going bowling is going to make me better. Like, what are we doing? And, just losing it. And so, we took off. But it was always just reminding Sean, this is part of the process, right?
Mm.
You gotta loosen up. You got to have fun. Because if you're always worried about the past or the future, you can't be in the present. And so we were just trying to do things like bowling or, and you do that through, doing things with your hands or,
Hmm.
people do it in multiple different ways. And so bowling was just one of the activities that we did to try to get him in the present.
Yeah, I remember being in the bowling alley, bowled a couple little bit, and then just the noise. I don't know what it was. My head
Yeah.
was not screwed on right. I had to walk outside. It was snowing out, and basically I was just kind of sitting in the hallway of like just outside the
Hmm.
door of the bowling alley, and just like my brain can't take this. It was the same being in a car where I couldn't
Yes.
really sit in a car. My body would just shake. It's a weird feeling, hard to explain, but that's where it was. And then I think also the Nedley Center is big on obviously movement. So
Hmm.
you had to maybe you can talk about the walking that and then the wristband that they give you.
Yeah, so we have guests do a certain amount of steps a day, and it usually leads up to about 5 miles a day. For Sean, it was like 5 miles of shuffling a day, um, but we would also do some circuit training and some other things. And Sean was really a good sport. As much as he would cry and whine about certain things, you saw his humor through a lot of it, right? There would be the times where he was really in his, in the past or, not there, but there's other times where you saw like the kid, the joking side come out. And, we always, talked about like, where does that side come from? And, we got to the bottom and said something about, he needed to heal part of his past too, of that little boy inside of him. And I think he got a lot of that growth through coming here, and we tried everything. You mentioned the car, and I
Mm.
remember we even tried because you would shake, and we're like, all right, just feed into the shakes, like just shake as much as you can, and try to like get the shakes out. It would work for a couple minutes, and then it'd be back to just light shaking, and so. I mean, we tried everything, and it was, exercise was just one of those pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
How was your experience with exercise? What did you remember about it?
Um, I remember going to the gym and the circuit training, and I'm also remembering I worked out a lot in my life and always going to the gym, and just how weak I was. My body was
Mm,
just weak, and walking was painful. I was not in a good position. I like to be outside, but it was just felt my leg was everything was hurting.
yeah.
I would do it begrudgingly, but I would do it. And I think that's not like you're forcing us, but that's you have the program, and also you have the other people there that are encouraging you. So I thought that was a big part, is just talking to the other people, hearing their experience, their stories, them being supportive. I thought that was, maybe in the moment I wasn't talking so much, but it was getting in my ears, right? It was getting
Yeah.
into my soul, even though I might have not responded in kind, because I was just
Mm,
in my own head. But those were some of the things I felt. But when I was there, honestly, I was just like, my life's over.
mhm.
What? This is it. Am I going to go? And then I was, like you were saying, the program is about 2 weeks, but I kept on getting extended, uh,
Mhm.
and extended and extended. So um, it was an interesting experience, Cole.
Yeah. No, and I think some of it too, with the exercise, I remember during the second part of your stay, it was me, you, and the other
Andy.
gentleman, and yeah, Andy. He was a little bit older than you. I think he was, in his 60s or maybe close to 70s. And I remember to get you to like get motivated to exercise, he would like kind of do that, healthy, like, oh, come on, I'm old. If I'm
Yeah.
doing it, you can do it kind
Yeah.
of thing. So creating some of that healthy competition, I think, was helpful too. And I remember you got excited about exercising again. You're like, I once could do this. Like,
Yeah.
I would be able to like be back in shape and do these
Hmm.
things again. And there was those different pieces, right? It wasn't the traditional sense of like you just went in that upwards, like you got better state, right? It was
Yeah.
getting better. You'd have your little peaks in different
Sure.
areas. And I remember it was, we were talking about what were you gonna do after this? Like what was the point of life? And I think
Yeah.
that's when you actually started talking about doing something like this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Doing something to help men, with your wife too, right? And so
Hmm.
I think she was a lot of the motivation for that. And it is great to see you where you're at now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And most people would not recognize Sean if they saw him back then. They really wouldn't. And I mean,
Sure.
what he's
Sure.
doing now is fantastic. And I couldn't be more proud of him.
No, I appreciate it, and please tell everyone in the center I say hi. And I've looked back on videos and pictures, and I see them, and I'm like, wow, that guy's incredibly handsome. But I say, was that really me? Just like, is that, because it's almost like bit of like of a dream, but it
Yeah.
wasn't a dream. It was the reality. I think that's also kind of the takeaway for other people that might watch this, is that uh, you always, you're like, I'm in this space. It's never
Mhm.
gonna end. I'm always gonna be like this. But
Yes.
that's not the truth.
No.
It's gonna pass. Now, it's
Mhm.
great to have people, community, conversation, and great people like Cole and other people that help you through that. But even if you're just alone, just know that it's temporary, even
Yes.
though in your mind you're like, no, this is
No,
permanent.
it's forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is forever, and it's
Yeah.
not. It's not
No,
that.
and I would say, you gotta feed into the good, right? Like when you
Sure.
find those small moments, right? The more you feed into the bad, like this is forever, this is going to be, it's like if you constantly tell yourself, no, I'm gonna get better, I'm gonna get better, like, you know, your mind will just, it will get better. If you feed
Yeah.
into the negative, you'll continue to go down that bad road. But like
Yeah.
Sean said, finding a group or finding that sense of community people you can talk to is super important, you know, as men, but as, you know, women and children too, you know, but, you know, I'm a guy and Sean's a guy. And so, you know, that's what we talked about mostly when he was here about, you know, guy struggles. And so, yeah, there is hope. There is.
Yes. Yes. So Cole, I have to thank you. Please thank all the people at the Nedley Center. I greatly appreciate you. I love you, man. And my wife loves you, and appreciate you. And we have a special relationship, and we will have that special relationship forever. So
we will.
So with that, I want to thank everyone for listening, and have a great day.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for having me. All right, I'll see you later, buddy.
Okay.